even if you don't care about the animals in the ocean, you should still care about ocean acidification because phytoplankton are sensitive to ocean acidification. And phytoplankton, they're not just the base of the food system, they also produce oxygen, and they produce a lot of oxygen. They produce like, like half of the oxygen production takes place in the ocean.
In the past, there have been 5 episodes of mass extinctions in which the majority of the plants and animals of the planet were wiped out.
Right now, we're undergoing what's called a mass extinction, and that means that the rates of extinction are much higher.
I'm sure many people think, what has biodiversity ever done for me and why should I worry about it? If you don't have a functioning ecological system, people will not survive.
Fishless oceans were actually predicted at least 40 years ago.
Rationing food and water doesn't get you down too. And I can't remember the last time we could eat 3 meals, just like normal.
And what's this I hear about fish? The staff say you're asking for fish at every meal? You know we don't have any, and you don't have any at home either.
I want us to stop treating this planet like a garbage dump, and I want us to stop pretending that there is some like plan B. We are destroying the only home that we know of in the universe that will support life.
We're the only species we know of that is determinedly set out to destroy itself.
If you're a thinking, breathing, aware person, then the shape of the environment has to worry you. And it's not just the environment. The environment is the plastic pollution. It's the shape of the ecology, the devastation of the Amazon. I mean, the shape of the world is horrific if you're watching. And the people who are not worried about it are the people who are not watching, or Bolsonaro, who's making money out of it. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, it's kind of a terrifying situation, and I think the natural inclination, like you said, if you become aware of it, is trying to raise awareness and trying to do whatever's in your hand. And so I thought, well, what is in my hand? Well, I'm kind of a nobody. I mean, I'm just some doctor. Like, but I was like, well, I can do a movie, like I can do research and I can write. I've always liked to do that, to do like research and writing. And so I was like, I'm just gonna do it into a feature length thing, and I'm gonna try to make it as compelling as I can.
And it was.
That's what I did. Like, we have a short span of attention, and you really have to make it as compelling as you can. And I try to do that, and I try to introduce several voices. It's not just my own, it's a lot of scientists. And I brought on I guess he's a celebrity, Moby, the musician, and he interjects throughout the film. He has a very like blunt style of talking, which I liked, and I thought it made a good contrast, especially with the scientists who are a lot more measured, a lot more I guess, yeah, measured is the way. It kind of contrasts a lot with Moby's way of communicating.
So if you would first lay out for me what you feel the major areas of dysfunctionality where humanity is disturbing, is distressing nature the most. What are those areas the most?
Well, it's several interrelated areas. They're not like islands that are isolated.
No. Yes,
And
everything's
I,
related.
yeah, and I think part of the problem is that humans see nature as something that's totally that they're independent of. And that was one of the things that I wanted to like plasmate to impress on in the film, that how dependent we are on nature, how we actually depend on it for our lives, for our food, for the air that we breathe, um, for everything.
For
You
every,
know? Oh, sorry. Are you okay?
no, I'm agreeing with you for everything.
Oh, yeah. And so, for example, and so, you know, like the film covers, for example, the ocean acidification. But people are like, who cares about the ocean? Who cares about if it acidifies? And then we're like, well, no, like, even if you don't care about the animals in the ocean, you should still care about ocean acidification, because phytoplankton are sensitive to ocean acidification. And phytoplankton, they're not just the base of the food system, they also produce oxygen, and they produce a lot of oxygen. They produce like half of the oxygen production takes place in the ocean. And so these changes that we're doing are so unprecedented that we just don't know how it's all gonna play out. And that's not a comfortable situation, not with regards to climate, not with regards to CO2, not with regards to the plastic fibers that are being now disintegrating and just going to every corner, everywhere.
Into our food, into our bodies.
Exactly, going exactly. Um, Not with regards to the way that we are degrading soil. So and one of the important issues, and I think the one that's like less talked about, and that's one of the reasons why I was very inspired to make the film, because I feel there's very little awareness on this issue, is in the role that our demographic changes have played right now. So in the way that our population growth is fueling and is really affecting all of these issues as a very important multiplier that is rarely discussed.
It is, it is
From
the
foods. Oh,
elephant
go
in the
ahead.
room. It's the elephant in the room. And I have a brag, which is that at the climate negotiations in Madrid last December, no, November, no, December. It was supposed to be in Chile in November, but that got put off, so it was December in Madrid. At those climate negotiations, I did a press conference, one of my daily programs. I used the UN's press conference room as if it were my sound studio. Otherwise, I could not afford to do what I do. And I was the only event in the whole 12-day period that covered, that touched on population.
Well, I commend you for doing that, and that's wonderful that you were doing that. But the fact of the matter is, like, pretty much everyone who cares about any aspect about the environment should be cognizant about the issue, and it's something that should be openly and honestly discussed.
Yes.
And it's not. And I find that very perplexing and disturbing. One of them is it because they don't know about it? And that's a problem, because how would they not know about it? Like, if you're concerned about CO2 emissions, then how can you not know that you look at the graph of our population growth and how it has grown. It's very, very similar to the CO2 emissions, how it has grown. I'm saying, like, no matter what your cause is, whether it's CO2 emissions or biodiversity loss, and everything is obviously interrelated, but it's really hard to I think that it's really hard to address any of these issues when we're having the kind of growth that we're having of 80 million people per year currently. And so that's something that, I mean, as you know, I think you watched one of my videos. It's something that I'm very passionate about, and that, I don't even see environmentalists talking about this. And it's kind of like I said, it's perplexing. If they don't know about it, then why don't they know about it? And if they're concerned about talking about it because they don't want to upset someone, well, like I mentioned, I mean, this is not a popularity contest, I mean, and also I think that the the things that would help the situation are so beneficial in general, improving
Yeah,
human rights, improving education, abolishing child marriages and
yeah,
things like that, and raising awareness of that in general. I think a big piece of it would be just raising awareness. I have to believe that humanity would behave differently if it was well aware of the environmental overshoot in which we find ourselves in. And in a lot of films in general, I feel like they often don't want to make the individuals uncomfortable.
mhm,
And so they scale back on displaying the sense of significant changes that are required. So to not to, they kind of sugarcoat
yeah,
everything. And so I
yeah,
mean, I tried not to, like, of course you don't want to, I don't know, it has to be a balance, so to inspire change, but I agree that also individual actions are very important to highlight because they can be very empowering.
yes.
And because I get a sense, even with the film, a lot of the comments that I receive are like, why are you telling us to do that? Like, this has nothing to do with us. Tell the companies. The companies are the ones who pollute. The companies are. It's just like a lot of people who genuinely don't think that there's any responsibility at all. It's like, and it's like, well, who do you think the companies are made out of? Like they respond to what you want. They're made out of humans. And so, of course, there's things that companies can do as well. But I think that a very important fact of, addressing kind of issue is to understand the issues and understand the severity and the magnitude of the problem, and understand how this affects you and me.
Mhm,
And it's not about your grandchildren, it's about you and me now.
yeah,
It's about the changes that are here now.
yeah,
And there's and we can do significant things ourselves,
mhm.
including having small families, including changing your diet, including flying less. And so
Including boycott. And I like to, when I use the word boycott, I like to say boy and girl caught. We need to stop patronizing the companies that are doing this. For instance, Amazon. I am in a one-man campaign to put Amazon.com out of business. Will that ever happen? Well, not very likely. Well, actually, no. It's to me, since I think we're headed down the drain, I think they're going to go out of business eventually because it's going to be such catastrophe. I'm sorry. I do think that. Well, I regard the future as a set of different alternatives, each with a probability. Okay, it's a probabilistic future, and one of those futures is a very dystopian future. And unfortunately, I see that as having the the major part of the probability. We're still knowing what we know, we're still burning down the Amazon at a rate, incredible rate. I think you may in your film state the statistic. Do you remember how many football fields, how many football pitches a minute we are burning? We
in
are,
the Endgame 2050 film, I don't mention it, but in the subsequent short video that I did is called Humanity's Land Grab Disaster.
yes,
What I quote is the information published by the World Wildlife Fund. And obviously, the amount changes from year to year.
yeah,
So it's never going to be the same. But the number that they quoted a few years ago was one football pitch every 2 seconds, which is what I highlighted in the film, in the
thank you.
movie, in the video. And so that's obviously not sustainable in any way. And there's no way that anyone can think that, deforestation at a rate of one football pitch, one football field every 2 seconds is not going to come back to bite us. It's just obviously not sustainable, and it's obviously going to come back to affect our species, and it already has.
Yes. And when I tell people that we should boycott Amazon.com because Amazon.com is has grown to be the greatest. I mean, it's ironic that we are destroying the Amazon, the real one, so that Amazon.com can become the biggest mercantile establishment on earth. And people say, oh, the two things are not related. Ah, yes, they are. They're related by having a common root. And that common root is that we put money above everything else, as does Jeff Bezos, as does Jair Bolsonaro. Interesting, they have the same initials. Wonder if there's any coincidence there. But so I'm a proponent of boycotts. People say, oh, it's not going to make a difference if I stop buying from Amazon. Sure as hell will, if you can get your neighbors to stop buying, if you can get passionate about it. You know, it's like the companies that are doing these things, it's our responsibility to urge them to undo it.
You know, the impact that population has, it's so clear and it's so undeniable that I think it's just absurd that anyone who cares about the environment would not be having honest conversations and would not be raising awareness about this issue, because it's just frankly undeniable. And if you care about deforestation or about climate change or about anything else, then how come it doesn't bother you the trajectory that we're doing, that you know that we're adding 1 billion people? The last billion that we did, I think from 6 to 7 billion, I think it took like 12 years 12 years for 1 billion people.
Yes, 1 billion people.
Exactly. I think that we need to move away from putting the blame on one country versus another.
Yeah.
You know, you hear that from both sides. Some people are like, oh, it's just the population and it's just, you know, these countries that are growing the most. And then other people, you know, like, oh, well, it's just the rich countries, the ones that are contributing. It's not the poor countries or the developing countries. So, you know, it's blame here, blame there. I think that we need to move away from that and understand that it's a collective human problem. It's not one country versus another. And when it comes to population, it really is a human problem, because the growth may be, you know, perhaps higher in one place, but even if in the United States, even if the growth isn't as high as in certain other country, because we consume so much here, every individual growth, I mean the growth that we do have here is exponentially higher than in other places. So even if we have a smaller growth here, it's still very, very significant. So population growth, in my mind, is a problem no matter where it is. So growing by 80 million per year, it doesn't matter if it's in a poor rural country, I mean, a rural part of Mexico, which is where the country where I'm from Mexico, or if it's in the US or the UK, you know, a country that's considered, you know, wealthier. It is really a global human problem. And it's not about pointing fingers, it's about acknowledging and promoting human rights. And frankly, I think a big part of the situation is simply understanding the fact that we're in an overshoot. You know, human rights are incredibly important and we need to work towards them. But I think that in addition to that, just simply spreading awareness about the fact that we're in an environmental overshoot could do great benefits, because people, I believe and I hope, would behave differently with regards to their family sizes if they were well aware of the environmental overshoot that we find ourselves in. But if they don't have a clue, because nobody talks about it, because everybody's terrified to talk about it, because they don't want to bring up these things that happened in the past and they don't want to be labeled this way or another, then we're really doing a disservice to humankind and to the environment, and a really disservice. Because how is this going to play out? You know, this is not projected to play out in a good way. You know,
it's not going to be pretty.
Exactly, it's not pretty now, and the projections that are right around the corner are not favorable at all. And so not speaking about overpopulation really hurts humans and the environment. But if you're trying to like be popular and not talk about it, people should know that that's a disservice.
It's a disservice to, you said humanity and environment. I say humanity and life on Earth, because humanity considers it's all about us. To me, it's all about preserving life on Earth with or without us, because we may be headed to extinction, as has been suggested by many people. But we need to prevent life from being extinguished, and that is not guaranteed either. Money promotes to the highest positions of authority in government and society those who are the best at making money and are the most willing to put aside other concerns, humanitarian, ecological concerns. They get promoted. If the head of a central bank said, I really don't think that we should lend that money for Brazil to dam that river in the Amazon, which will, it will turn the downstream part into a wasteland and a savanna, and it'll harm the rainforest. If the World Bank were to recommend against that, the person recommending against that would be fired. It's a self-healing system in the wrong direction. It's always going towards growth. How do you have economic growth without population growth? So I would offer the assertion that the silence about population growth comes from the silence in the media about population growth. Why won't the media talk about it? Because no one wants to advertise.
Even think about my film. Think about my film, Endgame 2050. You mentioned that on YouTube it has 500,000 views. Okay. Well, it has, I think it's like 575 or something.
Yeah.
Well, like the film was released in late May. Even if it was released like last week, we grow by more than 1 million people per week. So whoever hopefully watched the film and assume that every single one of them decided to stop using single-use plastic, like do your best to reduce your carbon footprint, all of that.
Have at most one child.
Have at most one child. I did talk about that, and I put my own example that I actually had a tubal ligation while single and childless. I decided I'm not gonna have children, even though I love children, but I just don't think it's a good idea right now. And so but imagine that every single one of person who watched my film like decides to do the best they can for the environment. A week after my film was released, there was already more than 1 million new additional people to the planet. So it's really hindering every single environmental cause, every single one of them. Like, tell me one that's not being severely hindered by adding 80 million people to the planet every year. And the thing is that what people don't understand is that the projections are really concerning. Like in 2014, the United Nations said that we had about 60 years left of farming the way that we were degrading soil. So why are we degrading soil? Because we have all these intense practices because, and because we need to feed almost 8 billion people. And, the pressures that we're putting on this planet are a problem in every aspect that you think about, from coffee to chocolate to palm oil to to avocados in Mexico. Everything is become a problem when you try to supply that to 8 billion people. And so of course we need to change our consumption. We all have the obligation to do that. And in my film I clearly display the benefits of adopting plant-based diets, of ditching animal foods for the planet. It's something that I do in my personal life. I don't eat any animal foods. And I think it's very important because it's something that doesn't require technology or money. It's a change that everybody can do. But yeah, I mean, in addition to that, growing our population by 80 million is even hindering that aspect as well. Because even though like vegan options are blooming everywhere, you see vegan brands and vegan options everywhere, the amount of tons of animal foods that are being produced, like milk, chicken, pig meat, beef meat, every year still keeps going up.
Yep.
So how is that not a tragedy? That is a tragedy. Like even despite all of these advances, they're not even making a dent because the population is outgrowing, by faster the rate of which the popularity of plant-based diets or whatever is growing. So it's something that I really, really worry about, and I really wish there was a lot more awareness about this.
Well, you and I are helping to create the awareness.